almost 6 months. After that, we are meeting. And last time we completed Samadhi Paad, chapter 1. So briefly, we will see what was there in chapter 1, and then we will start with chapter 2. So it is necessary also to go into the recall of chapter 1, because this chapter 2 Vyas Bhashya begins with referring to the chapter 1. So that's why we also have to discuss about it. Now, you see, it is said by the scholars and by great authorities that chapter 1 is supposed to be for the best kind of students, Uttam Adhikari. And second chapter is for the other people. Now, in other people, all the other categories will come. So what are those categories which will be there? Already in chapter 1, we had talked about 5 Chitta Bhumis. So the first 3 Chitta Bhumis will come under chapter 2. And only Ekagra Chitta will come under chapter 1. For the simple reason that in chapter 1, if you see what all the techniques which we had talked about, first of all, the aim was given that Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Now, after giving us that aim, the vrittis were explained, and after explaining the vrittis, the various kinds of techniques which were suggested, all those techniques you will find are hardly in a way dealing with the physical body. No technique is dealing with the physical body except the pranayam technique which was mentioned in Sutra 34 of chapter 1. Rest of the techniques which are there in chapter 1, they are all related to mind. Abhyas Vairagya, you see, Abhyas has not been defined. Only with how to do Abhyasa, what is the, defined in the sense, any specific technique has been not given. Abhyas has been defined, Abhyasa Vairagya, Abhyam Tannirodha, Tatra Sthito Yatno Abhyasa, Satu Dirgha Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Dadabhumi. Now you see, who will do this Abhyasa? Because Patanjali is not saying what constitutes Abhyasa in chapter 1. So it is something which is for highly evolved student who's already full of Vairagya, who has got that intensity of practice, intensity of intention. He is ready for it. So for him, chapter 1 has been recommended. And other techniques also, if you see, Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvaka, Ittaresham, Upaya Pratyay. Upaya Pratyay, Shraddha, we are lacking, we don't have sufficient Shraddha. The kind of Shraddha which has been talked about there, we are hardly having that kind of Shraddha. So even that technique is for highly evolved person. It is a purely mental technique. Same way, when we look at the other techniques of Ishvara pranidhana, we saw that Ishvara pranidhana, surrender to the will of God, total surrender. Now for that, a mystic is required, a simpleton is required. Very simple-hearted person. You remember the personality of, say, Sant Tukaram, Narsi Mehta, Mirabai, Kabir, Tulsidas, Guru Nanak. These are the personalities for which Ishvara pranidhana is very suitable. Now we know that where we stand in comparison to these people. So definitely it is very difficult to say that we can apply. Of course, we can apply Ishvara pranidhana, but that is why Patanjali has given Ishvara pranidhana at 3 places. One of the places in the chapter 2, Sutra 1, which we are going to take today. And then in Niyamas also, Ishvara pranidhana is there. And in chapter 1, as a central technique, surrender to will of God, that has been given. But there it is much more deeper, and that is the only technique one follows. So what Guru Nanak will follow, what Tukaram will follow, what Bhaktas will follow, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mirabai, they have only one focus. So we are also not capable of that kind of focus and surrender. So definitely it was for a higher kind of student. Same when we look at the parikarmas, all the parikarmas are mental, as I told you, except one, that is Prachardana Vidharana Bhyam Va Pranasya. जहाँ पे प्राणायाम की बात आती है, see they are talking about the mind can become stable, the mind can become tranquil, the mind can become calm with the help of prachardana vidharana abhyam, by through this pranayam. This pranayam is Patanjali's second pranayam, bahyavritti pranayam, similar to bahyavritti pranayam, that has been recommended there. Patanjali seems to be in favor of this bahyavritti pranayam, that's why he has mentioned it separately in chapter 1. So except Sutra 34 of chapter 1, all techniques are mental, at the mental level, at the, at much deeper, at psychological level. So one can say that chapter 1 is for the students who are of highly evolved kind. So where is the question of, other people who are not of that Uttam Darja, or one can say that Uttam Adhikari. 3 Adhikaris have been talked about: Uttam Adhikari, Madhya Adhikari, and Nimna Adhikari. So for that, chapter 2 has been introduced. Because if you go to see, I will not go into the detail of it because, but just one has to have little understanding of it. If you see, chapter 1 is complete in itself. All the samadhi techniques are at mental level. All the samapatti techniques are at mental level. And then whatever has been stated by way of chitta vritti nirodha being the aim of yoga, that has been properly explained systematically, logically, till the end, that both samprajnata yoga and asamprajnata yoga, they have been beautifully covered in chapter 1. So chapter 1 is complete in itself. Chapter 1 is complete yoga in itself. So where is the need for the second chapter? The need for the second chapter is there because that chapter, first chapter, is for the best kind of students, and we are not necessarily the best kind of students. If we were the best kind of students, if somebody, our guru, told us that do abhyasa in vairagya, that would have been sufficient. And we will know what is abhyasa, what is vairagya, and what we have to do. It will be very clear. But we keep having doubts in our mind. We keep approaching teacher again and again. We keep reading so many things. In fact, we find that we are reading so many scriptures. We are not going into the depth of one scripture. We are not sticking to one principle. Dr. Jayadev always used to say that if something is benefiting you, if something is doing some good to you, don't stop using it. Always go for it. Always practice it. So if we are doing some asana, for example, and that asana is giving us little strength, then we must always do that asana. But instead of that, what we find? We find that we are looking for newer and newer asanas, new body mechanisms, new ways of distorting the body positions. And instead of sticking to the very simple things, we are looking for very complicated kind of things. That itself shows that our minds need some correction. And that's why this chapter 2 has been. So the opening statement of Vyas Bhashya, it says that the yoga for the ekagra chitta, the Sanskrit word which has been used is samahita chitta. Samahita chittasya yoga uddhista. Already samadhi, the ekagra chitta, or the chitta which is one-pointed, that yoga has been explained. Now what we are going to discuss in chapter 2, we are going to discuss the yoga suitable for the vyuthita chitta. So what is a vyuthita chitta? Vyuthita chitta is a distracted mind, a mind which cannot remain focused for a long time. The steadiness is not there. जिसको हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं चंचल चित्त, इधर उधर भागते रहता है. तो ऐसे टाइप के चित्त के लिए they have introduced this sadhan paad. And as I told you that we had talked about 5 kinds of chitta bhumis. Which are 5 chitta bhumis? Shipta, Mudha, Vikshipta, Ekagra, and Niruddha. So if we see that Ekagra Chitta has been dealt, that best kind of yoga in chapter 1, then the rest of the 3 chitta bhumis, which are Shipta, Mudha, and Vikshipta, these are dealt in chapter 2. Amongst them also, the Ashtanga yoga is for the Mudha and Shipta. So the lowest kind of students are covered by Ashtanga yoga. And middling kind of students who are sometimes study, sometimes unstudy. We also find that in our life, most of the time, when the going is good, we are happy, we are steady, we are calm. And when the situation change, some difficult situation comes, we become sad, we become little agitated, we feel that we have become weak, we are not able to deal with that situation, we are not able to cope up with the situation. So in such situations, we become disturbed. So occasionally we are steady. When we are steady, suppose if every day we are doing some meditation or we are doing yoga practices in a correct way, then the outcome of that practice would be that we will feel very steady and calm. But unfortunately, we are not able to retain this calmness. We are not able to retain this steadiness throughout the day. आसन खत्म किया, थोड़ी देर के लिए स्टडी है, जैसे ही घर के बाहर निकले या जैसे ही कोई फोन कॉल आया, we become unsteady, we become disturbed, and then that state which has been gained by some good work of technique, we are losing it. Now this is the difference between the best adhikari and the madhya adhikari, that we are not able to retain to something which is desirable, which we think is worthwhile, which we think is necessary for us. Even such a beneficial thing we are not able to retain in our mind. So this is the difference. Now why this is happening? Because of certain inherent factors in our personality. Why we are not the best kind, why we are convinced that something is good for us, then why we are not able to hold it? We are not able to hold it because there are certain inherent weaknesses in us. These weaknesses could be inherent, or we might have acquired in this lifetime. As we are living life since our childhood, we have gathered so many impressions from our parents, from our peers, from our teachers, from the society in which we are living, from the friends we have, from the influential people, the colleagues we have in office. We have gathered various kinds of impressions while living, and these impressions have created so many weaknesses in our personality. And because of these weaknesses, we are acting the way we are acting. That's why we become weak. That's why we become tense. We are afraid sometimes. We are not able to do the right thing. We are not able to hold on to good state of mind. Because ultimately, as I told you, Patanjali, although he does not talk about what is abhyasa, but he has given a very beautiful hint. And that hint is that if you think something is worthwhile, some mental state is worthwhile, hold on to it. That constitutes abhyasa. So throughout the day, I will be confident, I will be peaceful, I will enjoy, I will be happy, I'll maintain calmness, I'll maintain steadiness. So if this steadiness is a desired state, then why are we not able to hold on to it? So precisely the effort which is required to holding on that state is what is abhyas. So anything which can help us in that direction would constitute abhyas. So there is no fixed technique for abhyas. Sometimes going to garden can be abhyas, because going to garden may uplift our mood. It may create good state of mind. Sometimes reading, listening to the music, talking to a friend, talking to a learned friend, talking to our teachers, all that can constitute abhyasa. And whenever there is a need for mind to become steady and we apply any technique, that can constitute abhyasa. Because Patanjali has given very general kind of techniques here. And in parikarmas, you will find the best of the techniques in the world, which has been adopted right from the ages since history of humankind has started. All the spiritual techniques which were used all over the world, some of them are mentioned in parikarmas. So that's why Patanjali Sutra is a grammar of spirituality, spiritual practices. It contains the grammar of spiritual, as my Dr. Jaydev, my teacher, used to say, this is a grammar of spirituality. So that is the perspective that, the mind who is distracted. Now, Vikshipta Chitta can be termed as a middle kind of student. So sometimes study, sometimes disturb. So when disturbing state is there, we become weak, we are stressed, we are harassed, and we lose our confidence. We feel that, our life is not worth living. All the stress symptoms come. And when the steadiness is there, temporarily that comes. So for such a kind of student, this has been recommended. Now, first sutra, which is started in the chapter 2, Sadhana Pad, is Tapa Swadhyaya Ishvara pranidhanani Kriya yoga. This is the sutra. Tapa Swadhyaya Ishvara pranidhanani Kriya yoga. As I told you, Kriya, Ishvara pranidhana comes in niyamas also. All three, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana, it will come in niyamas also. So Patanjali was very wise. Why he is using 3 places to explain Ishvara pranidhana, 2 places to explain Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana, because it is a repetition later on. Here also Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana is there. And there also the Ishvara pranidhana is there, or Tapa, Swadhyaya is there. So what is the need for that? That we will have to understand. That's why they say that Kriya Yoga is for the middle kind of student. So here a kind of orientation to our life has to be given, where we introduce the techniques of Tapa, Swadhyaya and Ishvara pranidhana in our life. So Kriya Yoga is yoga of action. Yoga of action in the form of Tapa, that is austerities, Swadhyaya, that is repetition of the sacred mantras, study of the scriptures, and total surrender of all one's actions and the fruit of actions to God. These 3 techniques have been mentioned here. No other technique has been given. Asana is not given, pranayam is not given, dharana, dhyan, samadhi has not been given. Only 3 techniques have been given here. Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana. Now, when we talk about Kriya Yoga, yoga of action, immediately on hearing Kriya Yoga, in some of the people might have thought about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is a very famous concept coming from Bhagavad Gita. So there is not much of a difference in Karma Yoga and Kriya Yoga. Because in Karma Yoga also you will find that there is a need for recognition of higher power in the form of Ishvara. And everything is being surrendered. Karma phala tyag, karma phala sannyas. That is what is the most significant part of Bhagavad Gita. Ultimately, the message is that you have got right to perform your duties, your action, and whatever comes in your way, that becomes your duty. So depending on our desires, depending on the circumstances, depending on the past sanskaras, life is evolving. We are facing various kinds of situations. They are there because of our sanskaras, because somewhere we have played a role, because our minds are working in a certain way, because we have certain kind of desires. So we are facing certain kind of circumstances. So this evolving situations are there. And in each of the situation, we have to understand what is our role. If we understand what is our role and we play that role to the perfection, and then surrender the actions and the results of the actions to God, that is what is Karma Yoga. And here also we are finding, here the slight tilt is there. What is that slight tilt? That whatever comes in your life, you have to apply Tapa, austerity. No matter what situation you are facing, you have to apply the principle of Tapa. So what is applying the principle of Tapa means? Tapa means remaining steady, remaining calm, remaining tranquil, remaining peaceful, remaining objective, remaining alert, remaining balanced in all circumstances of life. Because when somebody comes and some challenge comes before us, or somebody comes and insults us, immediately we lose mental balance. We become angry. We are disturbed. We lose balance of the mind, and then we also say things or do things which are not good for us, and this way we create problems for us. This is what is happening most of the time. So not getting disturbed and remaining balanced. So what is Tapa? Tapa is dvandvo se mukti, the 2 extremes in which our minds are running here and there. Sometimes mind is steady, sometimes unsteady. Instead of that, keeping the balance, Gautam Buddha has suggested Madhyamar, the path of, it is known as a balanced state. So Patanjali also talks about this balanced state. So always keeping the mind in balanced state of mind, that seems to be the aim for this. So in a way, one can say that this Kriya Yoga is for whom? Kriya Yoga is for the people who are worldly, who have desires, who have families, who have lots of interest, who also have lots of inherent and acquired weaknesses. So what they need to do if they want to spiritually evolve? What is the technique they should apply? They should apply Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, pranidhana. So all their actions have to be guided by Tapa, Swadhyaya and Ishvara, pranidhana. See, whatever we are doing, it doesn't matter. Patanjali is not asking us to stop certain actions. You continue to live the way you are living. You continue to do whatever you are doing. You are not asked to change situation. You are not asked to run away from family. You are not asked to run away from job. कोई संन्यास लेने की जरूरत नहीं, कहीं भागने की जरूरत नहीं. जहां पे आप हो वहीं पे इसका इस्तेमाल करो. Wherever you are, whatever is your life situation, whatever is your family, whatever are your circumstances, in those circumstances, in those life situations, only one has to evolve. How one can evolve? By applying the principle of Tapa, Swadhyaya and Ishvara pranidhana. This is what is the essential thing. So with the help of these three, anybody can become very calm, quiet, and his mind can acquire more and more strength, more and more clarity. So this is what is suggested. Now, when we talk about this Tapa, if we have to go into the detail of the techniques, we'll keep approaching these techniques again and again later on also, because when we are going into second, third, fourth sutras, we will see how Tapa is helping there, how Swadhyaya is helping there, how Ishvara pranidhana is helping there. And these factors which are weakness for us, these factors can be tackled only through Tapa. There is no other way. The importance of Tapa is that there is no other way we can make use of this change ourselves without using the technique of Tapa. So I remember one sentence which I had read. Let me see, let me read that sentence to you. A man without self-discipline cannot attain perfection in yoga. See, this is the Vyasa Bhashya. This is the statement in Vyasa. A man without self-discipline cannot attain perfection in yoga. So now here lies the answer. If we have not been successful in yoga, or if we have not acquired a good state of yoga in our day-to-day life, although we have been practicing yoga since many years, but then the question arises, what have we gained? And if we have gained, it will be always because of the self-discipline we are applying. And whenever we have failed, we will find that we have deviated from that self-discipline. That's why we are failing or we are falling weak. If we maintain that self-discipline, then there is no failure. So what it constitutes? Tapa is the mainstay in that. So you get up in the morning, you go out of the house, and suddenly something happens and you get disturbed. The train is late, you are getting disturbed. You are late, you start late of the house, so there's agitation in the body, all the stress symptoms are there, your BP shoots up, you are worried whether you will reach on time or not. So, immediately the mind is disturbed, and as the mind is disturbed, so body responds to that. Body becomes weak. The BP will shoot up and all the other parameters which are related to stress. And day in, day out, if we are facing these kind of symptoms and mind is all the time agitated, obviously it is going to tell on the body, and body is going to respond in that manner. So it is essential that we maintain calmness. So how do we maintain calmness? Dvandva, two extremes, getting disturbed and calm, totally inactive. Between that, one has to maintain this balance. So without Tapa, it is not possible to really do this. Now, when we look at Tapa, Tapa has got many meanings. Tapa means physical austerity. So suppose if you are various kinds of, this is a very practical thing. We will cover this Tapa in little detail. And when we are talking about this Tapa, we need to understand why I read this statement is, if we want to succeed in yoga, we have to keep this sentence in mind, and we have to keep Tapa in mind. Without Tapa, we cannot change. And that's why if you will see in my video, there's a quote. There's a quote by Dr. Jaydev. And that quote is, very, very telling, very important. we cannot construct something new without the help of Tapa. Because only Tapa can help in changing our wrong attitudes, our wrong habits, our weaknesses. If we want to overcome our weaknesses, Tapa is the only technique which can help. So Tapa will be going along all the way in whatever activities in the form of yoga we are doing, that we have to understand. Now, when we talk about Tapa, historical background, if we look at it, Tapa has been a common spiritual practice all over the world. In every country, in every part of the world, the monks, the spiritual people, when they wanted to evolve, they wanted a direct communion with the higher powers, be it nature, be it God, they always went for Tapa. In every part of the world, monks, you will find that they are doing a lot of austerities. They will get up early in the morning. They will go through physical, efforts, standing on one leg and other things like meditations. So many kinds of tapas are there, and it is the oldest technique in the world. In terms of Indian thinking, when we talk about the Vedic thinking, at the time of Vedas, when yoga was not evolved in the form Patanjali has given us, at that time, austerities and tapa was the primary technique, primary spiritual technique. So tapa has been highly recommended in the Vedas also, and later on we'll find in Upanishads also, the mention of tapa is there. Even Bhagavad Gita, so many places in Bhagavad Gita, tapa has been talked about, and the details have been given. But because of, and our mythological stories also, every part of the country you'll find, when they are talking about some great saint, he was an ordinary person, then he went into jungle, he went to mountain, he did lot of tapas, he did lot of meditation, he did lot of austerities, because of which he gained lots of power, and he gained lots of stability, and he got insight. So these kind of stories are there. Apart from that, there's a lot of misunderstanding about tapa, that when you want a desired object, then you do tapa. So like our stories are there. There was a king, and he wanted a son, but he was not getting a son. So somebody recommended that you go to this place and do tapa. So he went there and he did tapa and he got a son. A very common example would be, uh, that picture Mughal Azam. It opens with a scene where Akbar, the great king, is walking barefoot on the hot sand of desert, and he is going to one mazar, he is going to one pilgrimage place. Why? Because he wants a son. And then they are shown that because of his pilgrimage and because of the tapa of walking on hot sand in the desert, he got a son. Now, these kind of stories are also there, but we have to understand that yoga is not talking about any such kind of tapa. Here, tapa is slightly different in the sense that tapa which doesn't cause any pathological disturbance and which helps us in maintaining a calm state of mind, which helps us weaken the inherent tendencies and wrong attitudes we have. When we are correcting those attitudes, then those efforts in the direction of correcting our attitudes, correcting our behavior is what is required here, so that the past weaknesses can be overcome. That is the primary aim we have to understand. And then the second statement, which is there in the Vyas Bhashya, what does it say? It says that how can a yogi succeed if he has been, overpowered by the vasanas and the desires which are there and the sanskaras which are there. Our minds are full of such sanskaras. Our minds are full of such weaknesses, such vasanas and sanskaras and weaknesses, kleshas. So how can yogi succeed without the help of tapa? Tapa is the primary technique which can help. Now, if we go to the word tapa and its meaning, what is the meaning of tapa? In normal parlance, when we talk about tapa, tapa means heat. Heat. When heat is generated, normally when heat is generated, whenever two things are against each other and they are, working against each other in resistance, then the heat is generated. So common example would be, you can look at my hands. If I just rub my hands my hands like this, what is happening is that my right hand is being resisted by the left hand and my left hand is being resisted by the right hand. So if I continue doing this, there will be a lot of heat generated in my hands. So this is a physical example of Tapa. But here when we are talking about Tapa, what happens is whenever difficulty comes, we are inclined to go on the path of least resistance. We try to find out easy way out. We want to try shortcuts. And that is the reason why we want to find shortcuts. In life, always we go for shortcuts because we don't want to go to the tedious process of going through the difficulties. So we try to find out shortcut. So now where the resistance comes, where your body and mind is telling do this, and you say, no, I will not do this, then there is a resistance, and that will create a lot of agitation in the form of Tapa. So very simple example would be, now I don't know how you all are sitting. Are you sitting upright? Are you sitting in a yogic posture? Or are you sitting on a table and chair and you are bent? The spine is bent, I do not know. But suppose if I instruct you that in this class, once the class starts, you should not bend forward. You should always sit upright and you should sit in a Padmasana or you should sit in Ardha Padmasana. If this was the instruction in the class, what will happen? After 5-10 minutes, what will happen? Will you be able to pay attention to what I am saying? If I tell you that you have to sit all 45 minutes in Padmasana and then you listen to my talk, then what will happen? After 10-15 minutes of Padmasana, what will happen to the mind? What will happen to the body? If we are not one who is accustomed to this, he may not find any difficulty. But one who is not accustomed to it, after 5 or 10 minutes, there will be a pain in the legs. There will be pain in the back. And then he would want to change the physical position. He would slouch forward. He will bend backward. Or if there is a support, he will try to take support. Now where Tapa comes? Tapa comes when you say that no matter what, my body is asking me to bend forward, but I am not going to bend forward. My body is seeking comfort. My mind is seeking comfort, but I will not go for comfort. I will sit upright, at least for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, or maybe later on we can decide for 45 minutes. I'll not budge. I'll not change my physical position. Now, if we are sitting with this resolve, what we have to go through? A lot of pain. There will be a lot of aches in the legs. There will be a lot of backache. Sometimes, mind will get distracted because of the pain. So what is being talked about, we will not be able to listen to that. We'll get distracted. We'll not be able to focus. This is what happens. So slowly Tapa has to be built up. And that's why those who have been practicing yoga, they will know how Tapa helps. Initially, when you did some asanas, for example, meditative postures are there, or say Paschimottanasana is a difficult posture. So initially, when we do Paschimottanasana, there's a lot of discomfort, and this body responds in a way, or body rejects this. So body is responding in a bad way. That is how the body has been conditioned. You know what happens whenever you are doing something at the muscular level. If you are trying to push your muscles to an extent which is not normally there, then that muscle will resist. Suppose if you are extending the muscle will become short. That is the reason we develop back pain. How we develop back pain? If we are bending forward unconsciously without awareness, and suddenly if we try to bend forward, our muscles will react and they will become short, they will resist. And in that resistance, we may hurt the muscles. And that is the first defense our body has. But what happens if we persist? Every day we are doing Paschimottanasana. Now this would mean that we are doing Tapa. We are undergoing the pain, we are undergoing the training where we are resolving this pain issue, slowly bending forward, every day bearing some discomfort, every day bearing some kind of pain, and gradually we find that, okay, we are able to do it. So this is how Tapa works. And This will be applicable not only to the physical body, this will be applicable at the emotional level, at the spiritual level. When we talk of being aware is not easy because our mind gets distracted. And we have to bring our mind back to the focus again and again on the desired object. That is what is yogic effort. That is what is yogic concentration. So every time we feel our mind is running away, we bring mind back to the focus and continue doing. Meditation is that only. In meditation, we try to bring the mind back to the focus. Whatever is the object, whatever be the meditation, whatever is the object of meditation, we should not lose sight of that. We lose awareness. And when we lose awareness, it is because of the inherent weakness of the mind, of becoming agitated, becoming distracted. Already these sanskaras are there in the mind and we are working against those sanskaras. So tapa can help us here in such circumstances. Now tapa can be talked about at various levels. We saw historically that the tapa was a very important technique in our Indian thinking. All scriptures deal with tapa. All yogis, rishi, munis, they were practicing this technique of tapa. And here Patanjali is asking us that if you are a very middle kind of student, your mind is occasionally study, occasionally disturbed, go for tapa, practice tapa, and try to work on yourself so that you can overcome your weaknesses. Now, from that perspective, when we look at this tapa in Yoga Sutra here, what tapa works against? Normally, as I told you, our behavior is to go for a path of least resistance because उसमें सुख है, उसमें आनंद है, because we feel happy there, we are comfortable there. So tapa in a way is going against the comfort. Whenever occasion is there, and if we work consciously on this idea of going against the comfort, that would mean that we give up comfort of slouching back and slouching forward, sitting upright. That is giving up the comfort. At fixed time every day we do this. So this way various examples could be there. From the point of view of divisions, tapa can be divided into three categories: the physical, the speech level, and the mental level. So शारीरिक स्तर पर और शब्द के स्तर पर, तो इस हिसाब से बहुत सारी टेक्निक्स डेवलप हुई है. So many techniques are there. In physical techniques, standing on one leg, Padmasana is there, or other asanas are there. They are all constitute tapa. And you will be surprised. In Mahabharata, which is a grantha or which is a scripture related to this yoga philosophy and Sankhya philosophy, there is a lot of yoga and Sankhya in Mahabharata. And Mahabharata contains so many beautiful techniques. And in that Mahabharata, it has been very beautifully explained at one place that there is no superior tapa than pranayama. So pranayama again is a physical tapa. It has got connection with the mind. Through the physical tapa, through the pranayama, mind can be controlled. Mind can become one-pointed. Mind can become concentrated with the help of pranayama. So pranayama has been considered as a highest kind of tapa. Then there could be several other examples. Later, if time permits, we can go into the details. But at the speech level, what is tapa? The highest form of tapa, which has been practiced by various monks all over the world, is silence, mauna, not speaking. They say that we waste a lot of energy by unnecessary talking too much. So when we are silent, we keep quiet, we are gaining energy. We don't realize that after, like the way I am talking just now, after talking in this manner after about 45 minutes or 1 hour, it is definitely going to deplete a lot of energy from my body and mind. Speech. So mauna and silence, they have been practiced right from the inception of human race as technique. And many great people have derived benefit from this mauna. Mauna can be again of two kinds. One can be kasta mauna, the other could be akara mauna. In kasta mauna, there is absolute silence, where the mind also doesn't think. Thoughts are normally, when we are not talking to other people, we are talking to ourselves. I'll do this, I'll reach, now it's 8 o'clock, now I'll reach. I'll have dinner, I'll talk to my mother, I'll talk to my father. All these thoughts are going on. Although we are not apparently speaking, but the speech is going on at the mental level. So Kasta Mauna is controlling the speech even at the mental level. So when one is practicing the Tapa of Kasta Mauna, the thoughts also stop. But that is not easy. So for that, to prepare, Akara Mauna is there. What is Akara Mauna? At least we keep the mouth shut. Thoughts are there. And sometimes if the need is there, somebody is asking us a question, then we can write on the paper and give. Without speaking, we can write on the paper and give. Or through indication, through gestures, we can communicate what is going on in our mind. So this way, this mauna can be highest tapa. I don't know whether Promil is there or not. Promil had given one example of his colleague, her colleague in PNB Bank. She said that there was a girl who always used to talk a lot, and people used to get irritated. So they used to shout at her. They used to get angry with her. So one day she said that, okay, today I'm not going to speak at all. And she didn't speak whole day. Now what happened is, that was fine. Others enjoyed that she was keeping quiet. But what happened is, by the end of the day, that girl, that lady developed very high fever. So all the time her mind was agitated. She was wanting to talk, but she was not able to talk. She was trying to control her mind because she had promised that she will not talk. She went on controlling. Now this kind of control, if it is not done out of proper thinking, out of deliberation, out of conscious will, out of willingness, and if it is enforced or it is forced upon us, then it can have very severe kind of consequences. So she went into this severe fear, and 2-3 days she didn't come for work because of this mauna, she fell sick. Now this kind of tapa is not recommended. We have to understand that why we are doing it. What is the purpose of tapa? So from that perspective, this mauna is a very high technique. There are n number of examples. Gandhiji always used to go in mauna to gain strength. Vinoba Bhave, he used mauna as a great technique for himself. And he said that whenever he wanted to gain strength, he will go in mauna and he will become strong. His mind will become so strong that whatever he wanted to do, he was able to do because he will practice mauna. That is the claim Vinoba Bhave himself has made. There are several such examples where you will find many spiritual people, when they want to think correctly, when they want to make their mind steady, calm, tranquil, they go into silence. So two kinds of akara mauna and kasta mauna. And in this also we'll find that even if for 5-10 minutes we are able to keep quiet, if it is our weakness, then we can practice that and we'll find that it gives a lot of benefit. And then at the mental level, controlling the thoughts, regulating the thoughts with the help of right kind of reading, right kind of scriptures. So that will be the mansik tapa. So sharirik tapa, vachik tapa, and mansik tapa. Tapa can be divided at all three categories. And if we go according to Bhagavad Gita, tapa also could be tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. Patanjali is interested only in sattvic tapa. People are there who go to extremes. One doesn't have to go to extremes. Small things, very small measures we have to bring in our life. We have to change our life in small measures so that we can gain the strength. Now this way, when we talk about tapa, one may say that, okay, how do we apply tapa? Now quickly we go into that, how do we apply tapa? Tapa can be applied in two ways. One, we know that this is my weakness. I want to overcome this weakness. So what should I do? Now, for example, if a person is afraid of public speaking, he is not able to speak in front of others, and he wants to learn that. He wants to become confident enough to talk in front of people, give speech, and give very nice speech so that people can appreciate. If he wants to gain that, what he has to do? He has to again and again talk in public. That is the only simple thing he can do. So what he has to overcome that? While for doing that, he has to overcome fear. He has to overcome the discomfort of facing the people. He has to overcome that fear that people will laugh at me or I'll not be able to succeed. Now that's where the tapa will come. So tapa can be practiced by identifying certain weak areas of our personality. So maybe we want flexibility in certain part of the body, we can do tapa for that. We want to this can be at physical level, at mental level. Suppose we are getting angry again and again, and because of that we suffer in life, or we get dejected again and again, we get disturbed. So we want to work on this area, then we can identify that area and we can decide what tapa will be helpful in that. At mental level, we may have weakness at the mental level. Many people say, ये आप ये जो book recommend करते हो ना, जैसे ये अभी मैंने book recommend किया, see I suggested this book. So many people say, sir, tell us some easy book so that we can understand. But this is the most correct book. Now, reading that, putting the effort to understand that, that is going in long run, it is going to be of great benefit. So that also could be a tapa. So according to our weaknesses, we decide what is tapa. There's another way we can practice tapa, which I said right at the beginning. As we are going through life situations, as far as possible, we decide that whatever comes, I will not get disturbed. I will try to understand the situation. I will do what is to be done. I will do what is right in that situation and then forget about it. I'll not worry too much about anything. Whatever are the circumstances, I have to deal with them. I'll not run away from them. I'll not complain. I'll not grumble. I'll not cry. But I will face it. And I will do whatever is required to be done. That means we don't allow our mind to go into dejection, disturbance, agitation, nervousness, and face every situation with a calm state of mind. So tapa could be, this kind of tapa can be practiced all the time. So how many times during the day there are occasions when our mind is disturbed? Right from the beginning, morning to evening, so many occasions are there when we get disturbed, when we have negative thoughts. Now those are the occasions which God gives us or nature gives us to practice tapa. So this we have to understand. This way tapa can be applied in all circumstances of our life. The idea is that we maintain a certain steady state of mind, and gradually we'll find that steady state comes. Now this sutra contains two other techniques, Swadhyaya and Ishvara pranidhana. But this tapa idea, it was very, very significant, and we have to apply it because most of us belong to the category to which this sutra is applicable. Most of us are in that category where this sutra can be applied. That's why I went into the detail of tapa today. Swadhyaya and Ishvara pranidhana we will do next time. So today, whatever has been stated, for that, if there are any questions, now we have the session open for questions. If there are questions or clarifications, we can have that. Yes. Yes, Ajay.
We talk about chitta vritti nirodh, we talk about self-realization. Now, for a person like me, what should be the goal? I am still at the first step, yama, the first yama, ahimsa, and I'm still there after so many years. So, would that be too high a goal, or is it that there is a lack of commitment? At times, I'm not very clear. What should be my goal in life? The scriptures say it should be self-realization, chitta vritti nirodh, and if it's possible, we have that divine potentiality and all that stuff. So what have you to say?
See, whether that spiritual highest goal in the form of sampragnata samadhi or moksha or liberation, that will happen or not, that is a totally different thing. But right now, what is our problem area? If our good mental states are maintained as it is, then we are really practicing yoga. And if we are getting disturbed again and again, then we have to identify what is our problem area. Because without attending to this problem area, we are not going to move ahead in any direction. For that, we have to take care of our mental states. So when you said that yoga chitta vritti nirodha, in this also yoga chitta vritti nirodha is there. If we identify that there is a certain state of mind which is good for us, And if we put efforts in maintaining that good state of mind, we are controlling vrittis. Because we are holding on to a desirable vritti in opposition to the all other negative vrittis. So suppose if you want to feel calm and tranquil throughout the day, maintain this awareness, and and then what is coming into the way, what is the problem area, that problem area can be tackled with the help of Tapa. So suppose if you identify a certain mental state that throughout the day I want to be in a joyful and peaceful state. I want to be in a peaceful state and joyful state. What comes in my way? If people say something, I get disturbed. Some challenge comes, I get disturbed. Circumstances don't go right, I become disturbed. Now these are the problem areas. So what we have to do, we have to practice Tapa in all those circumstances. I want to maintain this state of mind, no matter what. So right now that could be the aim, because unless this aim is met, unless we are, see, aklishta vritti, yoga chitta vritti nirodha vrittaya panchataya klishta aklishta. तो क्लिष्ट वृत्तियों से पहले मुक्त होकर अक्लिष्ट वृत्तियों में जाएंगे, और अक्लिष्ट वृत्तियां जब बनने लगेगी तभी समाधि, एकाग्रता, सब कुछ आना चालू हो जाए। अभी तो थोड़ा प्रयत्न करते हैं, सुखासन में बैठते हैं, मेडिटेशन में बैठते हैं, तो 5 मिनट में 5500 थॉट्स आते हैं मन में, तो फिर ये स्थिति में तो हम लोग आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते। See, when we are sitting in meditation, if the mind is getting distracted, first of all, we'll have to stabilize the mind. The mind has to become calm. So what is coming into the way of, sometimes the body comes into the way. Sometimes our own weaknesses, our lack of commitment comes. As you said, is there, the commitment is there, the effort is there. Because as I see, most of the people who are present here in the today's session, they are all practitioners of yoga. They are exposed to yoga ideas, and in a way they have been practicing yoga for a long time. So commitment is there. But here we are understanding that in spite of that commitment, what is going wrong and what we should do about it. So Tapa, Ishvara pranidhana, and Swadhyaya can help in that direction. So next, as to this question of how do I become clear, Swadhyaya is the way through which we can become clear of our goals.
सर जैसे क्लिष्ट वृत्ति से अक्लिष्ट वृत्ति में पहले जाना है, द सेम वे isn't it क्रिया योग से पतंजलि ने अक्रिया योग में भी जाने को बोला है, like with through kriya yoga we are going towards akriya?
No, we will take that when it comes.
Okay.
Right now we are not at that stage, and we should not be bothered about that stage.
Okay.
See, जब भी वो चीज आएगी तभी उसको कोई रोक नहीं सकता। Are we ready for that? If we are ready for that, no. See, understand.
No. Why I just asked because when you said in the beginning Kriya Yoga and Karma Yoga ye reference, that is that time that thought has came to my mind.
So in Karma Yoga also, what a person does. See, he's facing a situation where he's finding difficulty. So he says that, okay, what is my role in it? It is a difficult decision, but I have to take it because God has given it to me. Nature has put me in this situation. Now I have to come out of this situation. Without action, he cannot come out of it. If he comes out of that without action, he will be a miserable person. He will again face that situation. So he has to work on it. And when he works toward it, the next challenge will come. पहली से जब पास होंगे तब दूसरी में जाएंगे, दूसरी से पास होंगे तो तीसरी में जाएंगे। अभी हम दूसरी तीसरी में अगर 10वीं की बात करेंगे तो फिर वो मजा नहीं आएगा।
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Friends, anyone? Any questions?
Nanai-san, any question? Gautami-san, any questions?
If no one is asking, like what I'm wanting to know is, suppose we take up this goal of self-realization. The sub goal could be maintaining my balance always, and a still sub goal could be that for some time during the day, once, twice, thrice, I experience that peace. So is that a right thinking?
Yes, that is the right way. That is the right way. So, you know, what you said is like, suppose after 1 week, we have to go to some place. Say, for example, we have to go to Tokyo. Now, after 1 week, we have to go to Tokyo. But then throughout the week, whatever preparations we are doing, whatever we are doing, at the background, this idea will be there that after 1 week, I have to go there. So we may arrange our things, we may collect our things which we want to take, whatever bag is there, whatever luggage is there, whatever things we want to carry, we will collect, we'll put it together. It is like that. If we keep that self-realization goal in the mind, that is at a distance, but whatever is required to be done for that, we can start doing. So feeling little calm, working on the body, disciplining the mind, feeling some very powerful, peaceful, tranquil moments during the day, no matter what. All techniques are valid for that. Anything which takes us in the direction of peace and tranquility, any technique, you know, singing, meeting friends, dancing, going on in nature, going on the sea beach, looking at the sky, looking at the trees, anything is valid. So idea is that we enjoy those states, because those states will give us glimpse of what lies ahead.
So yes, sir. Continuing with that, sometimes that goal is there to reach to Tokyo, but many a times इतना preparation करने के बाद ऐसे होता है कि flight cancel हो गया, lockdown हो गया और जा नहीं पाते हैं. To maintain that state of mind is so difficult.
So we try next time. कब तक fail होंगे? See, if our intention is clear, we want to do something, today or tomorrow we will succeed. That is what yoga is, isn't it?
Yes.
आसन में देखो ना. See, you tell me, were you able to perform perfect Padmasana and perfect Paschimottanasana or headstand right at the beginning?
No.
We practiced it.
Yes.
Every day. We wanted to reach there. We wanted to have that flexibility of the body, so we put efforts, and then we reach there.
We reached there.
Every day we work on it. It is difficult, but we have to. We can fail occasionally. It's okay. Yeah.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Regarding the Kriya Yoga, as mentioned in the Yoga Sutra, and Kriya Yoga, as mentioned in, say, for example, by Patanjali Yogi, like Maharshi Kriya Yoga. Are we similar Kriya Yoga, or there's the names?
No. They are different, because their entire procedure is there, and they follow certain discipline, and they have called it Kriya Yoga. But they are not talking only about this Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, pranidhana. So Patanjali's Kriya Yoga and that Kriya Yoga will have little difference.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Gautam,
Okay.
you can
Your
unmute.
time is up. We can leave it here.
Okay, sir.
See you next week.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I'll switch off. Okay.